your favorite Safdie brothers?
If I had to pick, I'm gonna go with Uncut Gems. Actually,
Wait, really?
I'm gonna go with Uncut Gems because of the ensemble. I think Good Time's great, but like
Ensemble's great in Good Time too.
yeah, ensemble's great in Good Time, but it's like
Not necessarily as present.
There's not a consistent ensemble, and fucking Robbie Patz sells that movie. He's great, but like
and
who? Yeah, but who else could play who Robbie played with that same like charisma where you're like, yeah.
What do you mean? Who else could play who Robbie? Like who else could play Connie?
Yeah,
nobody.
exactly.
I don't think so.
But nobody else could play Howie either.
Yeah.
Like when I hear about because like when they had Jonah Hill in the role, like imagine.
I think there are different interpretations of Howie. I don't.
But
think
then there's different.
Howie is not
interpretations
the
of
selling
Connie.
point of Uncut Gems.
I think he is.
He's not my selling point of Uncut Gems.
What is The Weeknd?
No, I'm offended. It's Kevin Garnett.
It's Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett is
Kevin
a great
Garnett.
sell.
I
No, it is
cannot
Adam Sandler.
believe-
Is Kevin Garnett the MVP of the year?
I would
overall.
listen.
Even if he's not like necessarily picked for
I know
best
I
supporting
ain't
actor.
see every movie that came out in 2019, but I saw Jumanji.
What's the
Okay.
What's the
Connection?
No. What's the like the afterword title? Like there's Jumanji : something.
Oh yeah.
I
the
think
next
it's Back to
level
the
or
Jungle.
something?
Oh,
Back to the Jungle was the first Jumanji.
Yeah.
oh.
No, the second.
The Jumanji
I hate
reboot.
this. I hate the Jumanji.
We
The
hate
movies.
you, Jumanji. I saw that
Jack Black
reboot.
kills it though. I won't even lie. He kills it.
Wait, so how
Jack
did
Black's
that,
great in the first one too.
How did that connect to Uncut Gems?
Kevin Garnett's better than Jumanji ever will be. Is what I was trying to say.
Oh god damn it, dude! Of course he is.
What?
He was better on the court than he, like even before Uncut Gems. He had more merit.
Oh yeah.
Where'd you pull Jumanji from?
Because
It's a movie he
both,
saw recently.
They both came out in 2019.
He had to choose between that and Frozen 2.
Yep, those are my options. Because I'm a good uncle.
I'm lost.
He took his niece to the
Okay.
movies,
Okay.
is what he's trying to say.
So you're sticking with Uncut Gems because of Kevin Garnett?
No, because of the ensemble. Not just Kevin Garnett. The entire fucking supporting cast of that movie. Fucking, they kill it, dude. They kill it. Every time they appear, they're like, I'm with you. And don't get me wrong. Adam Sandler plays off of them so well. And, like, he is Howie. And I can't imagine anyone else in that role. But
I'm trying to.
I can't, like...
But
he's
why
not
are you
the
making
selling-
an argument
he's not
for
the
Good
selling
Time
point.
when you're trying to say
I'm
Uncut
just-
Gems
well,
is the best one?
Because they're both amazing.
They are both amazing. And that leads me to say that Good Time is my current favorite, which could change. I've seen Good Time, I think, like 6 times now since its release. However, I could see myself liking Uncut Gems more over time. And I do think I apply that it's better, like Uncut Gems is a better movie than Good Time, but Good Time is my preferred movie
I'd agree
between the
with
two.
that. I'd agree with that.
I just prefer the emotion over, and I mean, like, but that's the thing. Every time I've seen Uncut Gems, it gets more emotional every time, even though there's. Ooh, I'm not gonna spoil it. God, I
This
came
is not
so
an
close.
Uncut Gems podcast.
Yeah,
for
this
the
is
record.
not.
Otherwise we
this
could.
is an Uncut Gems Stan podcast.
Yeah.
We do stand a king.
And we do Stan Safdie and Alara. Yeah, I would say that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wasn't shaking. I was shaking my head no and like the say it.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I
I'm
realized.
preaching.
I just realized.
I hope that I'm
noticed I was
preaching to
shaking
the
my
choir.
head
I
no.
really do. Josh, Benny, if you're listening, we love you so much. Please
know you're
let us
not.
work on your movies for the love of God.
One day, it's a guarantee. One day we will be talking Safdie in detail on this podcast. That's
No
a
question.
guarantee. They
Uncut
are,
Gems. When it comes out on Blu-ray, let's give it a good old.
Why not?
Let's give it a good old recap.
They are 100% going to immortalize themselves in the Chronic Canon.
Oh, 100%. There's no question about it.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
That's
Why
the
don't
name
you?
of our. That's the name of our podcast.
It's
Our
called the Chronic
podcast.
Canon.
Excuse me.
I can't
Yeah,
believe
it's
that
a
you
po-
messed that up.
It's a
I know.
podcast. It's called The Chronic Canon. I'm Brandon.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Frank.
We're just 3 boys.
We're just 3 boys. That's it. End the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Podcast.
Fuck.
Come on,
You know
dude.
what? I yelled at you guys before,
I can't believe you're doing this.
and I'm the only one that's messed
Can't
up.
believe you.
I've done this. Yeah, a podcast in which three stoned gentlemen, if that wasn't already clear based off the conversation we've been having previous, the tone, the pace, I don't know if that's indicative of how stoned we are. We've smoked a Graham joint. I can't remember the strain, though. It was definitely a sativa.
Yeah.
And then we've also
They don't
smoked
need to know.
pre-roll joint. And are we smoking anything else? We got anything else on the dais today?
I'm getting a bowl together.
Like, amidst recording is what I'm saying, in case anyone didn't understand.
I'd give it a minute if you want me to talk to you guys.
Why?
Okay, good
Like
call.
a whole joint.
Oh, okay.
What about a bowl?
I can smoke a bowly, woly.
I'm going to at least pack it.
Okay.
Pack the bowl.
So anyway, we get high, and we like movies.
And we talk about them.
All right, we love movies.
We're gonna-
I'm
yeah.
not even gonna-
Well,
I'm not
okay,
even
we're gonna get into the history a little bit, just because I do feel like it is important as far as like
His
listeners
story.
concerned. For not mine, more specifically you, actually.
Ours.
In conjunction with Frank and I, because
That is Frank and Jesse.
yes, we did introduce ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get off the jump.
Yeah, right.
You know, it takes so long for me to be like, who the
One
fuck?
more time,
Brandon.
Jesse.
Oh, Frank.
My God.
It's a joke.
I hate you.
Won't let long.
It usually takes me
Anyway.
like 3 episodes of a podcast for me to know for sure who's talking.
Yeah, and I don't know if that intro was as eloquent as it should have been.
It
but
doesn't need to be. We're
no,
new.
absolutely
First
not.
episode, baby.
First episode, we're gonna run through some kinks here.
You guys like heat?
We like heat.
Oh boy,
If you don't like heat, stop listening.
Get
I'm not
out.
even kidding.
Yeah.
Just
the
stop.
fuck out.
Just fuck you.
that's actually probably not a bad idea.
I mean, I'm not trying to
If you
alienate
don't,
people.
it's
but
not about alienating people. It's just like, you know, if you don't like heat, I imagine you don't want to hear people
Yeah.
like wax about it poetically.
we're saving you time.
Yeah,
Guess who our first director is? It's not Michael Mann.
but it's somebody who did recently work with the 2 stars of said Heat.
What a good. Nice.
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna tie that into some Italian too.
Martin Scorsese.
Cue the tarantella.
Excuse me?
No one can see my
Famous Italian
hands, but
dance.
you know
they
what
do it
kind
at
of hands
every
I'm making
wedding.
right
of
Well,
ours,
see, you
and
are Italian and go to
know.
Italian weddings. I wish I was Italian, honestly.
Sometimes it's fun. Most of the time, it's awful.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm sorry.
I'm just
to hear
kidding. Shout out to the Italians.
Your family's gonna be like
that. Shout out
half.
to all the fellow Italians.
Your family's gonna be like half of this podcast viewing. We're gonna get like 50 people from the family. You can't diss them on the first
Frank
episode.
just sparked a bowl.
They're not gonna listen.
Or as Brandon would say, a bully old.
They'll start it, and then once they know you're smoking pot, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Frank."
Brandon should have a lighter. I put it on the table for
yeah.
him.
Toss
I
it
tried
back.
to make sure
Toss that
everyone
back.
was
I didn't
accommodated.
ask for it, but now I got 2.
No, toss it back.
You relinquish your title as king.
All right. Anyway,
It's Martin
so
Scorsese.
we're 3 stone gentlemen talking about movies in whatever capacity we feel is appropriate at the time and that we want to talk about. Most importantly, I think, and hopefully as time goes on and as listeners keep attaching themselves to the show, we might be able to take some requests, might be able to talk about some things that the people, the voices of the world out there wanna hear us talk about. Which why in the world you would, I don't know, but hey, we're giving it a go. We're gonna see what's up.
you.
More
So,
importantly, honestly, I think I'm doing this more or less just to talk to you guys in a very serious fashion about these movies.
I was just about to say that from the jump, this is definitely a selfish podcast for us, and then hopefully we're liked enough to make it a podcast for the people.
We were literally talking about just watching all of Scorsese's movies as a group of friends, and then went.
Well, yeah, just like make that even more proactive. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I guess again, talking about the history of the group here,
we derailed you.
myself, Jesse, again, in case you haven't remembered,
Frank.
and Frank.
Brandon.
Well, Brandon is over here too, but ignore him for now.
What?
We were
Listen,
doing our
we're going into it. Frank and I, not just aspiring podcasters, but also aspiring filmmakers.
I'm popping locking it. I think.
Honestly, like, and I say that very genuinely because Frank and I have known each other now for how long? A little over 10 years, probably.
About 10?
Probably met in middle school.
10 to 11.
And immediately bonded over what? Movies. So,
What?
Yes.
remix. So, with that said, we have always been like striving to keep approaching movies from a more and more and more intellectual standpoint, despite the fact that I don't think, at least personally, I've gone very far in actuality, as much as I might feel like I have. I have so much to learn, but that's the point of this, is because I want to keep that process going.
Never stop actively trying to learn.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're fun. Movies are fun.
And
but
watching...
they're also tools and education.
But just saying, exactly, watching movies in general, to myself and to you as well, I think, and I mean, to you as well, honestly, Brandon. But more recently, I'd say that watching movies is like proactive, just in the nature of, I feel like I'm learning something anytime I watch a movie. Not just about the process of filmmaking, but even sometimes about life itself. And I think that connects right into the weed element that we've brought into this podcast, in the sense that I feel like once I finally, broke the seal, because honestly, I'm going to be real here. I used to vehemently, despise marijuana and shame people who smoked it as a youngin'. I was not, as they say, woke nowadays. I was quite slept at the time.
I despise you.
I gotta go.
And
this is just weed propaganda.
Once I finally broke the cherry and decided to smoke, it really did open up a whole new world as far as cinema is concerned. At least, I just sound like a piece of shit. I apologize. But
it's getting better.
However, that all that ties into why we're doing this specifically, and I'm honestly more or less most excited, honestly, about Brandon's inclusion here, because
Jesse and I attempted this a few years ago, and it wasn't able to stay afloat.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
At least with the two of us.
Yeah, we couldn't make it happen.
Just keep it consistent enough,
The key.
Well, not just
He's
that.
the key, baby.
We love for you that you are inaugurating yourself into movies in this proactive way, as we've been saying. Yes? Okay.
Welcome to the annoying world of cinephilia.
God,
it's terrible. We're the worst. Welcome.
Well, at least we're
I can agree on
aware
that
of it.
Yeah.
When
When I say we,
movie
I'm
people
speaking for
do
all
of
movie
us.
people.
Yeah.
Speaking
And
for
I
all
don't
you
necessarily group
losers
you in
out there.
because you're not the worst. You're here more genuinely
I'm
than
starting.
any of us.
One day.
I've heard myself around people who don't watch movies, and when I hear myself talk, I'm like, ugh. I used to want to punch Jesse and Frank for talking like this. What's wrong with me?
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Well, I feel bad in any normal capacity, like with family and friends of friends and stuff who don't just know who I am and whatnot. When they bring up just hearing, oh, he loves movies, he's obviously going to love most everything I'm talking about, and generally my opinions are very
annoying.
Fun fact.
On the opposite
They
side.
like almost nothing.
But like I said, bring up heat, and we're talking for hours.
But no disrespect to anyone's opinion either. It's
No,
just,
seriously not.
Ours are too strong. That's the opposite.
And I know I sound like a dick, I'm sure, in response to you. Anytime I'm like,
nature of the
I didn't
cinephilia.
like it, whatever. But I try to apply PTA's, mentality of never say a movie's bad. That just, that tears down our ability to do this, man.
Fucking hippie.
Was it after he made a bad movie?
But no, it was actually a story in which John Krasinski explained to Paul Thomas Anderson at a party or something that there was a movie that was out recently that he had seen and didn't like very much, and Paul just said, "Hey, don't say that. The only way that we get to make these movies is if we encourage creativity." And in that sense, I'm guessing, and it may have been in the article, but I can't remember specifically, but in reference to an independent film
think so.
Something of that nature.
But that applies to everything.
So Jim
Yeah.
Halpert's
So
a
support all movies is what we're trying to say, except
Marvel.
Yeah.
dick. Are we really starting with this?
No,
I don't want to
we're not
start
going down
with
the rabbit.
this.
We're not going down
I
the
don't wanna
rabbit hole.
start
We're not
with
going down the
this.
rabbit
It
hole.
relates to our person.
But that does lead to somebody who is also here.
Martin Scorsese.
No.
Step right out.
Hey, I can't do it. I thought about it. I was like, how does he? It's just
Is he the fucking Fonz? Okay.
of filmmaking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The fans of filmmaking, Scorsese?
Oh, first question before we get to Brandon. Actually, is it Scorsese or Scorsese?
I think it's Scorsese.
It's probably Scorsese.
You hear both?
Or is it Scorsese?
Scorsese.
I say both.
Scorsese.
I say both.
Scorsese.
I like Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Or the Scorsese.
Yeah, Marty.
If you're nasty.
Marty.
The Says. Sounds like STD.
Well, wait a minute, Frank. You didn't.
Fuck,
you didn't
I got
really
the
chime in
sense.
at all. I don't want to speak for you.
No, I agree.
No, but
I
come
would have
on,
jumped.
give
I
me
would
a
have
little-
jumped in.
But give me something.
I would have jumped in
Yeah,
if I
alright.
disagreed. I think
I'm not saying disagree.
We're annoying film people who are trying to be less annoying and aware, but more annoying by proxy.
Yeah, all right.
And we're doing this.
Even
to,
annoying to each other to a degree sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Not really.
no?
Actually.
Okay, I'm
Maybe.
glad. I worry that I annoy everyone.
As someone who's both of your friends separately, you do annoy each other. Sometimes you guys talk about each other's movie reviews, and you're just like,
Well, that's disagreeing.
He
Well,
doesn't
no,
get it.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
But we've
annoying.
always had that simply because, like, there's that want that, like, everybody loves the movies you love. Because then
Dare
all of a
we
sudden
mention
there's
the
validity
Forbidden
in that.
movie?
No. Not episode 1.
Dude, and we're going on a series about him later on.
no,
We'll
no.
keep it vague.
You're not thinking of the right Forbidden movie.
I think I am.
No, you're not.
There's posters of it in the room. There's DVDs of it in the room.
There's not.
What?
I wish. Chemical Cat.
Oh, no. Enough.
Now
Yes.
that's annoying.
Moving on.
Yes. All right, listen.
Immediately moving on.
I think we should do episodes for movies all three of us see in theaters together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be fun, right?
Yeah, I think
Maybe.
that's fun.
Yeah, let
Let
us
us know in the comments
Let us
below.
know in the comments below.
Oh, wait.
You know what? Else you should let us know if you think we should all go see Cats. Would you listen to a whole episode devoted to Cats?
Ooh, that was weird.
Terrifying.
Bluetooth speaker went off, everyone.
When you're high, of course. And recording. What don't you like about this? That's propaganda, government. All right. Anyway,
Keep it
hold
going.
on.
Come
I'm
on.
sorry. I lost it. Cats. If you want us to see Cats, let us know. If literally, what's the number, Jesse? 15? If 15 people off of one episode legitimately were like, Cats,
Would you go see it?
you'd
For the
have
people, I'd do it.
15?
10?
Oh, that could be
I think
done.
I went too
Doesn't
high.
mean I'm going to like it, and doesn't mean I'm going to support it
Of
either.
course. You can be pissed the whole time.
But you're
we
gonna
suck.
enjoy
You
it.
made me
'cause
sit
we're
through
gonna be-
Ad Astra already. And now I got to sit through Rise of Skywalker because of both of y'all.
Listen,
Oh, no, we're not going down this
Listen.
rabbit hole. Brandon has to tell the people who he is.
Cats is better than Ad Astra. I am not joking. That is my
I mean, I'm
true
sure it's far
opinion.
more singular.
There's nothing else like it. To Brandon,
A unique film. My name is Brandon. I also like movies. But here's the thing. I'm not these dudes.
you're not
I'm not
annoying like
these
us.
dudes. Is that what you just
Yeah.
said?
Yeah, he's
Listen,
not these dudes.
From a
That
very
was
young,
definitely a guttural
a very
voice.
young age, these young men realized that film was the jazz, and they
Mm-hmm.
they were all about it. I didn't know shit, you know. Like I've seen movies for sure, but I was not like an avid movie watcher. Most of the movies I had seen in theaters were bad because I was a kid, and that's all I care about. I was like, "Well, it looks cool. Let's go see that." I saw both Percy Jackson movies in theaters. I saw.
seen
I don't even know why I gave the second one a chance. But I was like, like this is it. This is my only shot. Like I'm not gonna see, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it, and I regretted it, and it sucked. And on my 13th birthday, I saw Avatar by M. Night Shyamalan.
The Last Airbender.
Yes,
I think it was called The Last Airbender, right? Not
was called.
Avatar wasn't in the title.
I think it was.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Someone look
Wait,
it up.
I got it.
Then when I was a freshman in high school, and met a couple of guys that I still know today, that changed me. So you want me to name them?
Yeah,
Nah, I don't want to call anybody out.
I'm Frank.
Jesse.
It is called The Last Airbender. And that is all.
Thank
It's
you.
a bad movie.
Because
What I'm saying
Avatar
is,
came out the year before, Jim Cam.
That's right. 2009? No, 2008.
my
2009.
catalog wasn't hot,
Catalog not hot.
though it was
Your
full of-
canon was not Chronic.
full of color, I will say. I saw a lot of black movies.
Hell yeah.
I grew up in a black household. And those movies are great. And then in high school, I met these guys and started getting heavily into the world of movies and heavily into the world of music.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little, I'm still standoffish sometimes. Like, for the heavy art films, like, I can't do this shit. But if it sounds dope and it sounds cool, most of the time, I'm going for it.
And you're willing to come on this journey with us, right? You
There-
wanna you like the idea of maybe one day we could graduate to the David Lynch, the art film.
Not even David Lynch.
No,
I mean,
that's
he's
what I
seeing
want.
Blue Velvet this weekend.
Within the last, I want to say, solidly within the last 4 or 5 years, I've seen a handful of movies that have probably changed my life and how I view just the world and life in general. And probably because they were on the crux of several crazy emotional events, Mm-hmm. But I think more recently than ever, I've been able to see the power of cinema and know, just by being friends with the creative people that I am friends with, how powerful it can be. And I want to harness that power because I'm selfish. I want to be strong. I want to be a movie boy because I got to tell you,
we all want to be.
It is use in this, and the people that I am surrounded with, it can be one of the most useful things in your goddamn utility belt.
Wait, that's the only reason?
Yep.
Not for yourself?
I'm
Not
kidding.
just that,
No.
man, but when we start doing trivia, we're gonna be unstoppable.
Yeah. We need you on that squad.
I want to do this because not only do I want to learn more and do more, but I also want to open up more opportunities for myself.
Amen.
Through the world of cinema.
And create.
And, I'm looking for changes. I'm looking for things that are different. Because if there's one thing I do know, I fucking do not like Hollywood.
I mean,
And I don't think they represent movies. And I want to change that. I want to change how I view that. Because movies are not Hollywood. But right now, when I think of movies, I think of big budget shit. And I don't like it.
to kind of lead us into who we're going to be talking about, The Irishman is a Hollywood movie.
Hollywood movie. And one of those formative movies.
And it's Scorsese's most expensive film. Granted, Netflix gave him the money, but Netflix is a major corporation now. Mm-hmm. Somehow with lots of money.
It's all hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Hip, 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 hip.
However, we do get some good movies out of it sometimes. But
Like
we
The
get
Irishman.
Yeah, but we get great movies from other places as well. And the search doesn't seem to extend much farther than Hollywood for most.
I'd say that's fair.
Yeah.
I'd say that's fair.
Sometimes Hollywood lets a couple in, but,
For the most part, people are seeing what's out. People are seeing what gets trailers on TV and what gets trailers on YouTube. Mm-hmm. What gets fucking publicity.
But
I mean, even a movie like Uncut
media.
Gems, which was widely acclaimed from, not audiences necessarily.
Yeah, but there were some trailers out there. Mm-hmm. And it's A24.
Well,
And
not
it was
just that.
hopping on
A24
social
only got
media a
one nomination at the Academy Awards this year, which is unreal. But
Is what it is.
Uncut Gems didn't even get nominated in a sound category. Give me a break. Come on.
But The
That's
Sandman.
ridiculous. And The Sandman. I mean, but I'm just saying, in the sense of these are things that you can, the sound at the very least, you can, tangibly be that is great sound objectively. Mm-hmm. That is, a mix that I've not heard, in other films.
Yes.
Or at least done that well.
It shapes it. It shapes it.
And every time you go back, you can listen to new things. Mm-hmm. It's pretty wild. But stuff like that, you'd think a movie like that might get nominated for something like that, but no.
Doesn't have the money. Doesn't have the same money to get in the right hands.
And that was a lot of money.
Doesn't have the jazz. Doesn't have the star power.
Somehow.
Adam Sandler.
I know. It's confusing. It's the comedy star power.
Yeah.
They'll
never
There's
forgive
the people
him
like
for Jack
us
and
who
Jill.
get hype, and then there's the average Adam Sandler fan who goes, this is one of the dumb ones. But for us, it's this is the good
Adam
one.
Sandler.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, both slap.
Both slap.
But
Slap hard.
Scorsese is a person who's always had a weird relationship with Hollywood.
Yeah, Scorsese
Because
has always had a weird...
he's not really ever been a small filmmaker, other than the first couple.
Which we'll be talking about one of those today.
We will be talking about the first one
Up
today.
until the third or the fourth, right? And then after that,
after Taxi Driver, he was off and running.
after Taxi, I thought that was what was the first one?
That was the last Hail Mary.
The one about the street or something.
Mean Streets was a small movie though. That was indie, and it just did well.
Okay.
And was a popular, well received, whatever. But
that is, I believe, what got De Niro into Godfather Part 2 and
the footage from it or something.
Yeah,
it
an
came
audition or something like
same
that.
year?
Well, I mean, Scorsese and Coppola were friends,
Pals, part of
so
the
that
pack.
would make
Francis
sense.
Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Yes,
See, I know that.
he also makes wine
Now.
and birthed Sophia and Roman.
Good.
Coppola.
And Nick Cage is their cousin.
I think that's correct.
They're a Hollywood family, baby.
Hollywood royalty.
The Coppolas.
Coppola can do anything he wants, and he does some weird things.
Like what?
I mean, let's not get into it. Anyway,
Hold on. We were on a roll.
We were doing well.
Scorsese.
Jimmy on the roll.
Scorsese.
Emily.
The Scorsese.
God damn it. God. He's involved a lot.
God is involved a lot in the world of the Scorsese.
The Scorsese has always been, for most of his career, large majority, a studio filmmaker. And he is one of the, like, 5 directors that have their name as a selling point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's actually not that many of those. Usually people who are more I keep doing a lot of physical things. I was air quoting. Artistic things opposed to commercial things. Usually you need the star attached. But he is the star a lot of the time. That's not true. Leo, De Niro.
Well, he spawned De Niro.
That's true.
He spawned Keitel.
That's true. He's been through it all. He's done it all. He is a
Jodie Foster too. I mean, I think she was in stuff in the '60s.
3 movies came out
because she's in
that
Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, as well as Taxi Driver.
And then Freaky Friday came out that year, and another one, like the
in
girl
the '70s
down the lane, '76.
Oh
3.
wow, really?
Yeah.
So maybe
that was like her year. It was like a bomb.
Take a look
drop.
and see if Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore was her first. Jodie Foster. Because if that's the case, then he launched the careers of Keitel, De Niro. Well, De Niro actually was launched by De Palma, if you're really getting down to it. But Scorsese put him in the mainstream. But had De Niro not starred in those De Palma films, we may not have Mr. Frank Sheeran or
man robbed of an Oscar now.
Or yeah.
Like what?
For real, I cannot believe. That's like maybe the
Like what?
It like is the performance of his career.
It is. I'll fight tooth and nail for it.
And
I'm so excited to get there. I'm so excited.
Jonathan Pryce knocked them out.
Okay, I don't think we've
not explained real quick. Also, I don't think
what
concisely
we're
that right now, starting with this episode 1, we will be running down all of Scorsese's films, his narrative features more specifically. We're not going to go into the documentaries like The Last Waltz or the George Harrison one, but we are going to go through all the narrative features, starting with. Who's that knocking at my door? Wyatt Sally Gaga. He's here to return my John Ford collection.
God. Who's that knocking at my door? The story about whores. What does he call her?
Dames.
Dames or whores and no, what's the bad one that he calls her? Like
he doesn't.
It was whore.
It was whore. Well, what does he call a girl who's had sex? But
I thought that was a whore.
No, he calls her something else.
It's not like unpure, is it?
I mean, that's what he's implying.
That is what he's implying. I just can't. Okay, so real quick, who's that knocking at my door? Is Scorsese's first film, first narrative feature film. Mm-hmm. Did he make any shorts or anything prior to this?
He did.
Okay, how many? Or like anything of note specifically?
The Big Shave's a famous one. I know that. I've heard of that. I think it's supposed to be somehow. Hold on. I'm gonna read the quick thing.
Yeah, and okay, but specifically this movie. So I remember when we watched it. We watched it last week.
Just the first line of The Big Shave. I'm interrupting. This short film is a metaphor for the Vietnam War. I'm pretty sure a dude just walks in a bathroom and slits his throat. And that's
wow.
the whole thing. It's like 5 minutes.
I mean, that is in line with stuff Scorsese will do. It is funny how, like, because of how sweet and cute and affectionate I find Scorsese as a man, I'll watch movies like Casino and just be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Good job, boys. Crush that head.
I cannot
Is
believe
he in it?
No. Just like him on set.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even in Taxi Driver, he stars in Taxi Driver, you'll see. Brandon, that's another thing about Brandon that I'm very excited about. There's so many of these movies that he's never seen.
Dude, I have not seen a lot of movies.
Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino.
None of them.
The Departed.
Nope.
Yes. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
What else is there? What are the big ones? After Hours, King of Comedy.
No.
Man, there's a lot of good
but
ones.
The Irishman.
I've seen The Irishman.
Age of Innocence.
No.
And The Irishman. We all saw The Irishman. I guess I'll real quickly state that our reason for wanting to talk about Scorsese specifically is, like, one, a personal history. Back in November, Frank, myself, and our friend Nick, who is not currently present with us, hopefully we'll have him on the podcast at some point down the line. But we ventured to New York to see a Q&A with one Mr. Michael Mann discussing The Insider for its 20th anniversary, which was incredible. However, the next day, we decided to see if tickets were available to a screening of The Irishman before it was released wide or on Netflix at the famous Belasco Theater on Broadway, which would have been an experience had we not gone. We would have known it would have been. But it was an experience. It was incredible. And Brandon, I am deeply in my heart so sad that you were not present for
You're just
such an
digging
event.
You're just digging in.
But I do feel it's important to note because that was not just one of the reasons, but it was a big reason as to why the movie was so impactful at the time. Because I'll be honest, at the time at least, before seeing The Irishman, Scorsese was not as prescient of a filmmaker in my mind. But actually, when I got to The Irishman, I started to think about it and think, oh wow, Scorsese actually has had a far more important mark on me as a cinephile, and the kinds of movies I enjoy that I gave him credit for initially. And I think it's because I lump him in with people like Tarantino and Nolan, when it comes to filmmakers that kind of get you into watching deeper and deeper movies.
And it's easy to discredit the very simple fact that it's because they're great.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
like, oh, this is a lot like other things and people do these things better or first, whatever, but they...
And I think Scorsese finds an authentic balance between that entertainment part of filmmaking and the, metaphysical, metaphorical, more meaningful side of filmmaking. And if you want to see one more than the other, you can. And if you want to see both, you can. But he leaves that up to you. And I think that's a very remarkable touch to his, skill set, I think.
And he's a person who, The Irishman, I think, proves there's a lot of value in trying to go back and feel that whole career because we weren't old enough to experience it in reality.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being around Scorsese's age or something where he started making movies when you were young and you got to watch his whole career and then go see The Irishman.
Unreal.
That's a journey.
So I feel like we're just trying to do that now.
Trying to catch up.
We're trying to go on that journey in 1 year.
Because I think...
And it'll be done, because if we keep watching these movies consistently one a week, we'll get it done faster than I thought we would, actually.
Yeah. I think we should make it
I think we'd be done in June by the time we've watched them all.
It should be,
There's 25.
Oh.
Yeah.
52 weeks in a year?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good thing.
Check.
Good thing that I know that. Because that's some information that you can easily slip up on.
Irishman hit hard. We were all feeling existential. We were all feeling the love for movies. We were riding the high. And then came home, and then Brandon knew. He knew. Instantly.
As soon as he saw it.
Love.
And it was even better for me on that rewatch with you. It only gets better the more you see it. It's so good. I found myself putting it on, when I'd go to sleep, and I'd end up watching all the way through up until Hoffa's introduced, every single time. And I go, God, go to sleep. This is bad. You're going to end up watching the whole thing.
That's like an hour.
It's like an hour in. It's like 45 minutes, actually, I think. But it's that good.
Put it on background.
I thought about it.
No.
I do have some pictures of Martin Scorsese and Al Pacino displayed.
But The Irishman pulled everyone into wanting to explore more.
Tighter. And then what came so shortly after? Uncut Gems. I think that only tightened the knot.
Yeah.
Well, not for me specifically. I just think it sort of almost metaphorically spoke to Scorsese's importance to cinema at this very moment, in both 2019 and 2020, both with his op-ed about the future of movies and how Marvel and superhero movies are influencing that, and his name being executive producer on Uncut Gems just sort of says, hey. I'm metaphorically passing the torch. Though, the fact that his name is also on The Joker is something.
Is it The Joker?
It's Joker. I just said The Joker because I have no respect for that movie. Haven't seen it, though, so I guess, if that's important to you.
That's the cinephile talking.
Yep.
Because me neither.
But
I want to.
But we just felt like now is a better time than any to get especially
It's
acquainted
probably cool.
with his filmography. And we started at the very tippy top with his very first narrative feature, Who's That Knocking at My Door? And it was abysmal.
It was awful.
Spoilers. It's terrible.
It was surprisingly bad because the reviews, at least as far as I'd seen on Letterboxd and other websites, were, decent, like between, a 3 to 4 out of 5 generally. And boy, oh boy, was this pretty low on the totem pole as far as I'd say for my grade.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I gave it a 1 or a half.
We'll talk about it at the end. After the discussion, I think that'll sort of solidify how you feel, I'm sure.
Spoiler.
And I don't even know how long we'll talk about this, to be honest. I have a few
I don't
points
want to talk about it for this long, but we gotta. It's literally the point of our show.
And then we gotta talk about Boxcar Perfect.
It might be
Next
good.
week.
I haven't seen it, but the trailer looks awful. And maybe it
I
was just a
don't
bad
remember
trailer.
the trailer.
But Barbara Hershey's in it. I
only
don't
15
remember which
minutes.
Carradine, but there's a Carradine
I
in
think
there.
both, but I think David's the important one in the movie.
And David Carradine is Bill from Kill Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to double check. There's so many Carradines.
Bill's in it.
Okay.
There's
Anyway.
2. Is there more?
But in this movie, there's just Harvey Keitel. And was this Harvey Keitel's first movie?
Yes. It says he's credited as "and introducing."
Interesting. Okay, and he plays a character named J.R. And I don't know. I'm definitely not as antiquated with the plot.
There's
I
4
do
Carradines.
remember what happens in the movie, but I think Brandon or Frank would put it more eloquently. So why don't one of you take the reins on the
I don't even want to talk about it.
the rundown? But you gotta. And see, you told me before this that we gotta talk about
We
it.
do have to. It's
What
the first
does it
movie.
start with?
I
I don't remember.
What is this movie about?
It's about Catholicism, and it's about
Catholic guilt.
it's about repenting.
It's about Sally Gaga.
It's about forgiveness. It's about love.
It's about westerns.
It's about toxic
I
masculinity.
hate that you're both right. Everything you're saying.
You know,
It's about Martin Scorsese.
Unfortunately.
But actually, I don't necessarily think it is.
You want to know why?
Because I think that he is not. I do think that he is not in the perspective of Keitel. I do think that he is projecting a lot of himself onto that character, which is maybe associated with his own guilt in a different way, but I think he's using the character to say different things because it doesn't seem like he is on his side by the end of the movie.
I agree.
But I do not know if we are supposed to empathize
he
with
doesn't
him or not.
necessarily win.
He is definitely an example of a bad guy, this JR that Harvey Keitel plays.
By the way, he has a name. Guess what the leading lady's name is?
Is it just girl or is
It
it
is
the girl?
Girl.
Oh, it is just girl. There's no
They
the.
do not name her, and they will never name her.
That's got it, but that's a choice.
Because he
Intentional.
don't know her name. He just
Right.
knows she's a virgin. Or he thought.
Yeah. And I can't remember.
That's the plot.
Okay, but also the movie. It's the history of the movie's production, I guess, is that it started as a short film that he made for film school. Correct? Like part of the movie is a short film that he made for film school.
What you got
and
on
then
the wiki?
That's exactly what it is. Who's That Knocking at My Door was filmed over the course of several years, undergoing many changes, new directions, and different names along the way. The film began in 1965 as a student short film about JR and his do-nothing friends called Bring On the Dancing Girls. And in 1967, the romance plot with Zena Bethune was introduced and spliced together with the earlier film, thus creating Who Is That Knocking at My Door?
I don't know.
But the original title was I Call First. I don't know if that changes anyone's thoughts. I think that
That makes
jumped
it
it up
so
to a
much
4.5
worse.
for me.
So much
Are you
worse.
serious?
No.
I call first.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dibs.
so well,
Dibs
that's
on
the
girl?
scene. Hold on.
Oh, does he call dibs on her at some point?
Yes.
Wow.
It's the scene when no, not her. It's at okay. Hold on. Hold
Yeah.
on. The beginning of the movie is just this dude bumming around with his friends who are all very annoying.
They're kicking shit and
They-
people.
oh, yeah,
and
it
like
literally
beating the
starts
shit
with a
out of
fight.
people with planks and stuff.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
literally starts with the fight, and then
And there's like a classic Scorsese, like, late 50s, early 60s rock song playing. Yeah.
and then
Already indicative of his style, though. That's a lot of things I'd like to point out, is that you can definitely see a lot of what will come in his later work, like here. Which I think is, no matter what, intrinsically valuable in the sense of, yeah, I saw it. I can see that. I can identify that.
Yeah, I saw it.
But I never need to see
So?
that again. Frankly, I'm upset that I had to pay, what, $2.99?
I think so.
Ridiculous. He should
Amazon's
release that
got
for
us
free.
under
If
their
it's
thumb.
only for the purposes of education. But I mean, hey, I guess we're in the minority on this because other people seem to find it like decent at the very least. Maybe they're able to drum up more from it. But by God, I'm glad you all felt the same way.
So he's
How could you not?
Yeah, I
Did you
know.
see it?
I don't want to be like that guy who's like objectively this movie's bad, but like,
But
because it's not. Go on.
you can say it. It's not as pretentious when you say it.
movie's bad, dude. I've seen good movies, and I've definitely seen some bad movies, dude.
Okay.
This one sucks.
It's one of those things where yes, you're stretching by going, I see what they were trying to do, and
Yeah.
it's like cool, but you're wrong.
So anyway, the movie opens with a
They
bunch
beat
of
him up.
guys beating up some guy. I don't necessarily remember if the guy comes back into the game at all. No,
Doesn't at all. Never comes back.
And then I believe it then goes
They have, like,
to
a bar.
Keitel, and I thought it was interesting because I believe it goes to a shot of Keitel and another, and like one of his friends. I can't remember what his friend's name in the movie is.
Other than Sally Gaga.
But Sally Gaga is somebody that's always referenced like off screen, which I
He
think
was there. He was one of the
sometimes.
first three.
I know, but I'm saying sometimes, but that most of the time he's only
Joey,
referenced to.
I think.
Maybe it's Joey. But he's
Joey
walking
has
with
the
him
bar?
in like a shot that's like up on top of a building that's slowly zooming in on them and tracking with them as they walk. I'm like, oh, that's very Safdie of them. Well, more like that's very Scorsese of the Safdies of them.
He went back in
That was
time.
wrong.
Said, Uncut
But
Gems is lit.
yeah, absolutely.
Let me get that zoom in.
But I believe then it goes into a bar sequence.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And one of them owns the bar. They don't ever seem to actually be working.
Oh.
Like, ever. Like, I don't think they serve a single person who isn't one of them.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
But I've never seen another person in the bar.
Right. So it's mostly just their bona fide
Which
hangout
makes me
place.
wonder, was it a set or was it like a real
bar
bar that
after
they
close.
that they just filmed at?
Somebody worked at, whatever.
Who knows? Yeah, because they definitely didn't apply extras to the place, and maybe that's indicative of it was owned by the people that were running it. Because they're not mafia people. We haven't gotten to the mob stuff yet.
No, there's no mobsters here. They're just a bunch
But
of
they
bumming around
kinda,
boys.
They kind of feel like mobsters still, and I don't know if that's just the Scorsese stereotype.
I think that's
I
New
wasn't
York
in that
Street.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting like hoodlum vibes for sure.
Okay.
But organized crime,
Not necessarily organized crime, just like crime. In
that's
general.
what the mob is. But hoodlums, criminals, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of street kids.
So, but then
They-
we get into the romance of it all from there. Like, I
Yeah.
believe we like hard cut to the train station or something, and all of a sudden he's sitting down with this woman who's reading. I believe she's just reading a book, minding her own business.
It's a magazine.
A magazine.
Because he starts asking her about the magazine.
Starts harassing her about the
Yeah.
magazine.
and this
like
is
that French.
and this
Why
is
are you reading
where
a fucking magazine? Fucking dumbass, fucking stupid idiot.
he calls her some wild names in that scene. Actually, from what I
She's
remember.
just like, ooh, I like it. It's French.
And
You're not wrong.
but how does he end up then beginning to wax poetically about
I think
John Wayne and
because
John
it's in
Ford and the
paper.
westerns? It's in the paper.
There's like a review or something.
Okay.
There's something in the paper that's related to the movies that makes him go like, "You like westerns?" She's like, "Yeah, I
I'm
can't
just
tell
like,
anyone I like
wow,
westerns."
Scorsese was a real film bro back in the day. Like, just applying everything he wanted to hear in a movie to his own movie.
No
which I
different
mean,
than Quentin.
yeah, basically, yeah. I just saw a poster thing that was like, "We get it, you know movies," like applied to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood poster, and then it was like, "If you like the '60s so much, why don't you marry?" It was good. I laughed.
Burn.
But anyway,
So he's chatting her up via western.
yeah, but
talk.
this is where we get into the problem areas, honestly.
Oh,
Because
this is where we get.
I mean, like the real problem areas, because like
The
I mean,
opening's rough.
The opening's rough, but I mean, like whatever. It's like we'll see where this goes.
Sure, you're still with it.
But this is
the
where I
clear
really
sign.
started. This is where I verbally, because okay, listen. At least in my experience with watching movies with Frank, if it's a bad movie that I don't like, I give it some time before I start verbally going, okay, because I just want to be confident that what we're seeing is bad. This happened with Ad Astra. It will happen with Cats, and it happened here with Who's That Knocking
It
at My
won't
Door.
happen with cats because you know that's
But
bad.
somebody's got to break the seal and be like, all right, for someone else to go, Jesus Christ, this is so bad.
Yeah.
And that kind of happened in this scene when I just went like, all right, we get it, man. You really like John Ford. Like, you really like Westerns. And this is the biggest issue with the movie overall, I think, that every single elongated sequence, anyway, is elongated to an excruciating length.
But every scene is an elongated scene.
I know.
There is no short scenes.
Well, I mean, like, I guess I can't remember. I can't remember specifically if there's anything, but like the scenes that are more like set piece scenes, like him meeting her for the first time, like scenes that should theoretically have, like, we'll get into, should have like been cool or like interesting in theory, but then applied to this project are not at all. And I also think that reading the thing about it being a short film morphed into a feature really makes sense. Because it does feel like a hodgepodge of like nothing, like a bunch of ideas that have, like, kind of like what they say to film students, where they're like, "Hey, with your first feature, don't try and make every movie you wanted to make in one movie. You'll have chances, hopefully. Go with your best idea and work from there," or something like that.
Also, like 50 years ago, when there wasn't easy access to that mentality. You know, filmmaking was a lot harder to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it did feel like
a lot more running
one shot at it all.
Yeah,
I think we're lucky now.
And again, I think funny because, like, well, I don't know how many Scorsese movies reference westerns directly, or like movies like that directly. But we do know, just knowing Scorsese as a filmmaker and his history, that he loves those films, and those films are incredibly inspirational to his work. So that's where I'm kind of just like, this is the filmmaker talking, like, you know, putting themselves into the movie, making it personal as directly as humanly possible. But I think I just have this personal thing against like movies directly pulling references to other movies. Like, it just pulls me out sometimes, depending on how it's done.
Okay.
I'm not saying like that, and like when it's applied to a world where it's like, yes, that would be referenced in that, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for instance. It's like, yes, they're in Hollywood, these are movie stars, they would be talking about these things. It's not as bothersome. And when it's like just a random guy sitting on the street, like, you see this movie? I love this movie. I love this director. I love this, and then they never talk about it again or something like that. It's just a scene for the purposes of like filling time to make a feature film. It wasn't adding anything to the chemistry between the two performers, because it was pretty lifeless on both ends, which I'm not sure was supposed to be intentional or not, because I mean, their relationship ultimately does end up lifeless, but it's basically beaten to that point by our good old boy JR,
because he drags everything is dragged out. It's not a quick 1 minute exchange about westerns. It's a 5-minute scene about westerns and nothing else.
Yeah,
when it's supposed to be the introduction of romance.
Anyway,
hold on. I've been trying to figure out a time to work this in, and that pause seems like a good time. The budget was $75,000.
What?
In 1967. Yeah, I'm gonna make that a bigger what. So back up. In today's money is $577,000. Imagine having $500,000 and more than $500,000, and you came up with Who's That Knocking at My Door? It's me, a bad movie. Give me back my money.
We think that we can make better movies simply because, like, we've seen all the best stuff and can identify bad from good. But I do think that there is, like, a real value in the doing it all the time to, like, build up your repertoire.
Sure.
There are people like the Safdies. There are people like, you know, but I mean, hey, like, Daddy Longlegs is, like, definitely not as good as, you know, Uncut Gems or Good Time.
But I don't think Who's That Knocking at My Door is bad because I can make a better movie.
No,
it's just a bad movie.
I know what you're saying, but how much money again, if inflated to
$577,000.
$577,000.
It's a lot
It's
of
like
money.
$500,000.
A little over.
That's a lot of money, but I mean, like, actually by today's standards, not really. Like, in theory.
Okay, but for a student filmmaker, like that, where he was.
No, I mean, like, to me, $500,000 would be a lot.
It'd be your first movie.
I think I'd be able to do something like that.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
It's for the amount of money that shit. Well, I guess film is expensive.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other factor.
Well, you mean film like 35 millimeter?
Yeah.
Well, not then.
Still, like, not cheap to have a lot of it to shoot.
I don't think it was cheap, but it was cheaper.
Of course, but they had to be fucking up left and right. You saw the movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The cinematography does not really have any sort of nuance or calculation to it. It all seems very off the cuff, which, I mean, like, is not indicative of his later work at all.
Yeah.
Because his camera is very, very precise in most of his other work.
Mm-hmm. But young and not with a lot of time or resources, but even keeping that in mind, it's uninteresting.
Yeah.
Because he shouts at her for a long time about the Westerns.
Yeah.
And then it just goes back to him and his friends dicking around, doing random things, being at a bar, being at someone's house, drinking.
Driving.
Yeah.
Drinking and driving.
Drinking and driving.
They're like,
Everybody's favorite.
at one point, one of the biggest conflicts of the movie is that someone doesn't want to go to the city.
Oh my God.
Like, one guy wants to take his car. He wants to go to the city. And JR, him and his girl just broke up because she was raped and unpure to him.
Well, that's skipping way far ahead. But anyway, continue.
Well, skipping ahead, nothing happens in between. They go on a bunch of dates.
Hey, just let me say this. I said at the very beginning I didn't want to run down the plot of this thing.
Hey, we said, keeping it quick, just kind of like fast forwarding through it.
I don't know.
Talking,
nobody else can
we
see the faces of the men in this room, but these boys look defeated right now by this movie. Like, there's something about it that's just drawing it out of us right now.
Just real quick, they go on more dates. It's more talking about fucking Westerns. It's the friends being dicks. One of them, no, that thing going to the city was before then.
Was it before they broke up?
It was before. So they had
he was
the thing going to
sad because he didn't want to go. Like, that's the reason.
No. I think
he wanted to hang out with her.
I think so.
I think that was it. He wanted to hang out with her
because. Okay, and he's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. They're just screaming at each other. He's like, get out of my car, fuck you. And they just scream at each other, fuck you, and say nothing else for at least 35 seconds. Mm-hmm. Bad filmmaking.
I remember at one point I said something like, oh, we love improv. Like, we fucking love it.
Everything he said, the guy would respond, you don't tell me to blah, 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 blah.
That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, every single
not
thing.
Not in my car.
You shut up. You don't tell me to shut up. Not in my car.
Wasn't your review this? You can't tell this guy anything.
You can't.
You really
can't tell me.
But so they go on more dates. They start to get closer, apparently. And then there's a scene where she tries to have sex with him or initiate something, and he gets all weird about it and is like, I don't want to talk about it. If you love me, you'll know. Because he's fucking insane.
He's crazy.
So then all the scenes with him hanging out with his friends, they're doing nothing but being dicks. There's the slow motion scene where somebody whips out a gun for no reason.
Oh,
at
yeah.
a party.
Just like harassing this guy. And the guy's like, wait, no. And then like they start to like fuck him up because he doesn't want a gun in his face.
And we're not saying that's bad because like how stupid. It's just like, even from just like, oh, this is a movie. It's like,
what?
It's all in slow motion. It's 4 minutes. There's like no context, and it's not interesting to look at after about 30 seconds. At first, we were all like, "Holy shit, a guy has a gun. This is tense." And then instantly, it's like, "Oh no, it's literally not.
Yep.
I'm just bored. Please shoot someone."
No shots fired in the film.
And then was the sequence that followed the sequence?
Oh yeah, and then there's a point when they are on a date. Oh, that's the one too. The gun scene somehow transitioned to like the Western poster.
Oh,
and then
that was a cool transition.
Theater. Yeah,
I will give the movie that.
And then when they're walking out of a movie theater, he has an elongated fantasy about fucking a bunch of women.
Yeah, and it's
set to the end by the doors.
Set to the end by the doors.
When we say elongated, we mean like multiple scenes.
I will say
multiple scenes of him having sex with multiple different women.
It's not even scenes; it's vignettes. Clips.
Sure.
Just a bunch of shots. A bunch of shots of him having, like, to the point where we were like, is this...
one?
There's multiple. There's at least 3?
At least we debated this, and we're not going to go over this, but I do believe we saw a bit of Keitel's penis. And I think that I only mention that because we see all these movies, or not all these movies, we see all these women in the film naked. Like full in the buff,
and being very gratuitous in the like displayment of them.
Yes,
the objectification theoretically, if you want to say it that way.
For what didn't fit. Well, I guess it's his fantasy because he's whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It's from his perspective. You can give it the purpose. Fine, but I'm glad we at least saw a bit of Keitel's dick. Yeah. I think we should have saw more.
We need more dong in movies.
More dong.
Just know that
hashtag more dong.
Exploit more men sexually.
Just know that the Chronic Canon is all about having
bro dong in
movies.
Yeah,
you got dong.
Hey, real quick, Brandon has not seen Magic Mike in one day.
I haven't seen Magic Mike.
He's seen XL.
Well, you've seen.
I've seen XXL. Masterpiece.
Yeah, so you know exactly. They're all good. They're great movies.
I want to see them.
Saw them both in theater.
Me too.
Anyway,
So there's a long
the
scene.
sequence, but I want to talk about this sequence specifically because apparently this was another one that was like added in because the studio that was financing the movie wanted to like sell it as an exploitation picture.
Yeah.
And
Sexploitation.
or a sexploitation picture more appropriately. And either forced him to film this scene after the fact or during production had him film this sequence. But it was included only for that purpose. And it does feel, again, like everything else, just thrown in for the sake of being in there. Like kind of gritty for the sake of being gritty or raw for the sake of being raw.
This, I think, is when we honestly started to tap out. Because that's like an hour. I
Yeah.
think we're literally close to an hour in on it.
Yeah.
At that point. Because
But
I think
then
there was
after
30 minutes left when the plot is introduced.
Yeah.
I
And
think
was
our
that
quotes again.
because that sequence happens after he's already heard about her getting raped?
No.
No?
No.
Really?
I'm
That happened-
99%
That's
positive.
when he.
I thought that he had that sequence
No,
afterward, and that
no,
was
no,
like,
no.
and I was thinking to myself, like, oh, because there was a moment where it
No,
seemed like
dude,
he was
because-
trying to reckon with it, and I was like, I hope they're going in this direction.
There's literally one scene of him like with her post finding out where he's like not being. I think there's only like one or two scenes with him after he finds out.
Because he finds out in her
Because he
apartment.
finds out and then he goes on that weird trip in the mountain
What?
when they go out of town and they're just like climbing the mountain. And then there's that like
Oh
weird
yeah, I
profound
remember
moment.
that. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's after he finds out, and there's a long scene.
that's
of, like,
after he finds out. Yes.
them all drinking, and then he sees her one more time, and then that's like that's the movie.
Oh, yeah, and I don't
he
know-
finds out really late in the movie.
We haven't talked about it, but they're like directly, I guess. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just really fucking high. I don't know if you've noticed, but it does seem like everyone has been gradually getting way higher over the course of this entire podcast. So, just wanted to put that out there. However, I don't know if we talked about the sequence that really sets the plot on fire, in which
we started to. Brandon started to.
the said girl says to JR that she was raped in her past. It doesn't really say when or how long ago it had happened.
Just that it was a
but
previous
it does.
lover. Or not even a lover, just a guy that like she had been like going on dates with.
Yeah.
It does, however, show you the rape in a pretty gratuitous fashion, I'd say. Like, pretty graphic
Like
for the time.
Everything leading up to it, like her jumping out of the car,
I
like,
was
trying to get
uncomfortable.
away, dragging her back to the car. He only cuts away when like it starts.
Yeah.
But he does put on audio clips of like her being like, no.
While she's still telling him about it.
Yeah, and I guess I can't think back now if that was supposed to be like his imagination or something, but he immediately reacts poorly.
Oh,
and
dude, this
It's her fault.
it's her fault, and he's not happy about it.
He thinks that she's lying to him, and this is her way of admitting that she's had sex before. Is
Right.
by saying it was a rape. And
Yes,
he's
that's
like, there's
right.
no way. Who just goes on an empty road with some dude? Why'd you let him take you?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then because he loves God. That's a whole thing.
That's
Yeah.
That
Actually,
is
Because they
the-
try to have sex early in the movie. We did not state
did.
that. We did?
did. We talked
okay.
about that.
See, I forgot something.
That isn't actually explored that much in the movie. The fact that he's a very devout man. The only time it comes up is when he's weird about not wanting to have sex, and like one shot early on or
Doesn't he
something.
go to a confessional?
That's at the end. I am 99% sure. That's the,
The
end.
confessional is at the end.
That's the end. Because then it's all the weird shots in the church, and then it's
Yeah.
just like over. It's like, oh, this was all about Catholic guilt because
Yeah.
sex is bad
Yeah.
or something.
I guess.
Because they have they had
right,
the scene where
so-
she admits it to him, and then he goes and contemplates it. And for a second, all of us, I
Climbs to
remember,
the top.
verbalized that we thought maybe he was having a
Change of heart.
a change of heart. Maybe he was reckoning with the information in a different way. And he
Spoiler alert,
completely
he
throws
don't.
that out of the window.
Now, in her defense, she also thought that he had a change of heart because he was like, yeah, I'll get back together with you. Like, I love you, like, that doesn't change anything. Like, I'm sorry for the way that I reacted, And she's like, all right, cool. Like, I'm glad we can start to move past this. And he goes, yeah, I forgive you. And that's when we're like, you son of a fucking bitch.
And that's when she goes, you son of a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
She's like, you forgive
And
me?
at least there's that. That's what we all said. At least she
mean,
stood up for
okay,
herself.
but the movie... Oh, we skipped over one important scene.
Which was?
The I Call First. So in the post-wake of finding out, he's with his hoodlum friends
Oh,
after they go on a
yeah.
trip and they stand on a mountain and they look all contemplatively out into the sunset.
This movie sucks.
They go to one of their friends' house and two girls show up after they've already been drinking, and then they're like making out with some dudes in a bedroom, and Harvey Keitel exclaims, "I call first," implying he gets to go in there and have sex with them first, even though somebody's already in there with them.
It's weird.
And then everybody
It's all
goes,
weird.
"No, I call first. I call first. I call first." And then they rock paper scissors, and he loses. And then they go in there and they throw him out. And then after that, he realizes, "I love her" or something. I don't know.
Like some
yeah,
bullshit.
that's why he goes.
I
so
think-
does
he
he
goes
go
back.
back to her place?
He goes
Oh,
back to her
immediately
place.
goes
Yes.
back to her
And
place.
it seems
when he's
like things
drunk
might be okay.
and horny.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it is. He's
That's
fucking
what
horny.
it is. So is Scorsese, horny boy, horny Catholic boy.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh
No
boy.
good.
No good.
Okay, so then we have the scene we talked about. She gets mad. She kicks him out. He goes to confession.
That's a long
It's a
ass
lot of
scene
things.
too.
It's a long scene,
It's
and I
very-
do. I
and
what's
it's
the, I think
it's
the
very
one saving grace.
cringeworthy.
The one saving grace this movie has is that she, while she's complacent most of the time, in this instance, she's like, "You say you forgive me, and there's nothing to forgive. You can't get over it. We're done. Get out.
Hell yeah, though.
Like you've upset me."
Which I think goes to the point of like it's probably a lot more intentional than we have given credit to.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
His
It doesn't come
shittiness,
across.
his uninterestingness, his lack of true thought, being called the girl. I originally wanted to be called I Call First. All these things point to a like intelligent movie. But just when you're
execution.
literally watching it, it's
The
like this
execution.
is not
Yeah.
good.
And I don't think
It doesn't
Scorsese had
provoke-
experienced enough life yet, probably,
Of
to be
course.
able to say anything poignant about that
And
subject.
it didn't provoke thought until this moment, like rambling about it. And it's like, yes, I understood this then, and thinking about it more doesn't make me like it more because
No.
the
Right.
experience itself is just a bad movie.
Yeah.
And that's the movie. We went through it. That's
the whole
it.
thing.
Took a while, but nothing.
See, I told you. We had the thought this was only going to take like 20 minutes, but I knew we would talk about it at a decent length. I do want to point out real quick, because we did not really have much as far as good to say about the movie, that we did actually forget how the movie truly opened, and it is actually the only highlight of the entire film.
Isn't it the fight?
It is Martin Scorsese's mother
Yep.
making food
Oh yeah.
for a table of children.
Yep.
Yes.
And
yes.
that is beautiful.
That
Ton
is
of time.
nice. That was nice.
That is beautiful. That is a piece of Martin's canon that I
And
will
it
want
cuts
to
back
cherish
to that
forever.
at the end during the like quick ending montage of
Maybe.
like all the imagery in the church of like the cross and the people
Yeah.
laying
Yeah.
in the provocative like on top of each other way, and
Yeah.
then it's like things of his mom, and I think there's images of the girl.
Yeah.
It's like a whole like
But see, like,
fucking thing.
I think again, this is why I want to bring up that throughout this entire movie, you can see the sprinkles, and I mean, like, it's something that you could probably say about every movie made by a now successful auteur. That you can see, tidbits of their style laced throughout the movie. But this one, it actually has a lot going on that he inevitably taps into again and again over the rest of his career, because I just think that there are interests that he's always had that have remained with him forever, and that's pretty cool, and that's at least valuable again to see. However, I think this movie is like a junkyard mess, like across the board, and
Keitel's
almost
not very good.
Oh, he's pretty bad. It's all kind of unwatchable. Not that I wanted to turn it off, only because I was like, I know I need to see this. But if someone ever tried to put that on again, I would wrestle to make sure it did not happen.
I mean, this is one of my conflicts I bring up all the time. If Scorsese's name wasn't on it, I would have turned it off. I
Yeah.
would have been like, oh, no, I don't need to waste my time.
Yeah.
Within the first 10... Once he started going on about John Ford,
Yeah.
I would have been like, I'm okay.
Yep,
If
exactly.
it didn't have his
Well,
name.
And I do want to point out also, though, that as far as the movie's reception was concerned at the time, the one critic that reviewed it quite positively, which is an important note to make in the history of Scorsese's career, was Roger Ebert.
I knew you were gonna fucking say that name.
Yeah.
Well, he gave the movie a positive review amidst, I believe...
4 out of 4.
4 out of 4, really? At
Went
the time?
the full 4Zs.
Wow.
I guess put your perspective back then. There's not a whole lot of things being made like that. I fucking guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, most of that stuff was coming from Europe, and that's again
Yeah.
indicative of like Scorsese's influences at the time.
Yeah.
Can I say indicative again? Jesus.
Yeah, he gave it the full 4 out of 4. I think he saw it at like the Chicago Film Festival
Yeah,
or
the Chicago
something.
International Film Festival.
And he gave it the full 4 out of 4 and basically championed him enough early on to help Scorsese get going.
I guess not Scorsese. Ebert's quote was that the film was a work that is absolutely genuine, artistically satisfying, and technically comparable to the best films being made anywhere. I have no reservations in describing it as a great moment in American movies. And I will not disagree with him on that it is a great moment in American movies in that it birthed one of the greatest American filmmakers to exist.
No, we didn't have this. We didn't have Irishman.
No, exactly. And I do think it's interesting that, at least at the moment, I'll give a spoiler alert for my opinion, but
I mean, I think it's pretty clear.
Irishman is my favorite Scorsese film.
Okay, that wasn't pretty clear.
And
we shouldn't have said
who's
that.
that knocking at my? I mean, I don't know what your guys' favorites are.
It was a
Who's that knocking
joke.
at my door is my least favorite, and I think it's interesting that his first film is his worst, last one is his best. At least as far as my opinion is concerned.
Could change.
Could change.
Who knows?
Over time.
Or
There's a lot I still haven't seen.
Or during this run.
Yeah.
Maybe Bringing Out the Dead is the best.
Oh, man. I started it recently, and it wasn't clicking for me. But we'll see if that changes. Could.
Literally possible.
May have just been the mood. May have been the night.
Can I just say real fast? I just pulled it up real quick.
Yeah.
The Graduate. Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
Wait Until Dark. Dirty Dozen. In the Heat of the Night. Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
American movies that came out the same year.
67.
The
Yeah.
Graduate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ebert was legitimately trying to say that is comparable to most movies coming out. In a technical way.
At least, I was going to say, the only
That's what I'm
argument I could
talking
see
about.
being made is that in influence and in, like, I can say genuine. He definitely genuinely made that piece.
I know,
Came
but
from
just,
him.
like, from a technical perspective, it is
I-
clearly worse than all of them.
All of
agree.
those.
I agree.
Like just poorly made.
Yeah. But then again, maybe he just saw the future.
He could feel it.
Yep.
We're jaded.
Yeah, who knows?
We have
mean,
the
again,
Irishman.
That's what I'm saying.
Spoiled,
Like,
if you will.
after having seen, again, I'm sorry to the Safdies for referencing you all the time. But
This is a Safdie Stan podcast.
this is a Safdie Stan
no
podcast
shame.
and a Howie Bling Stan podcast.
Add us at Howie Bling
but-
Fan Club 10127. Somebody
Any-
make that Twitter.
Anyway,
Wow.
the Safdies, Uncut Gems, and Good Time were both films that I'd seen prior to checking out Daddy Longlegs. And I wonder how I would have felt if Daddy Longlegs would have been my introduction, because there were many people that lauded, like, without Daddy Longlegs, I doubt they'd have the career that they'd have now. But same goes for Heaven Knows What, and then even Good Time, and now Uncut Gems is going to
Yeah.
spark them into a whole new level of superstardom, I'm sure. But that's beside the point. Just an example.
Heaven knows what's their mean streets, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
What?
Good
Brandon,
Time's their taxi driver.
I keep forgetting. I keep
Even though it is their
looking-
after hours.
Yeah.
Like, really.
I meant. I guess I was speaking commercially in the career,
Yes, absolutely.
not plottedly
Right.
or moviely. What I keep forgetting. I'm looking a lot and using my hands a lot, and this is only audio. Brandon, what Scorsese movies had you seen before we started this?
So, without knowing it was a Scorsese, I saw Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
Love Wolf of Wall Street. I thought it was hilarious. I haven't seen Goodfellas.
Is it just that and The Irishman? Or
I
those
think
the only two?
I think those might be the only two. I don't know. Name them.
Okay.
No, because I thought you said you'd seen, was it Gangs of New York?
No, definitely
I
not.
think those are the only. Oh, Shutter Island.
No.
All right, then those are the only two. I'm pretty
What are
positive.
the name?
Wait, I mean, no.
Wait, I think you've seen Kundum.
I would give you $1 million right now.
If you had seen Kundum, you'd
Yes.
figure it out.
Oh, that's Scorsese. What I was gonna say though, trying to argue, I agree with what you were saying about maybe if we had seen this first.
Yeah.
But this is pretty close to Brandon seeing it for the first.
Yeah.
And you also loathed it.
Yeah.
In the same way that we loathed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just might be a bad movie.
No, I agree. It is
period.
just a bad movie, but who knows how we would have felt at the time without the context? Who knows? Who knows?
I know. I
have some.
And I'm only saying that
Even-
also just to give it credit where credit's due for being a movie that exists.
In
Like,
I
a
guess,
production that went through the full gauntlet of middle of the road production and post production, like successfully, to a product that is now for your viewing pleasure for $2.99.
paid for this. I guess in that defense, even though I don't have Scorsese's filmography, logged in my brain, I still know the weight that his name carries. I still know that he is like the director, especially after seeing his, magnum opus, The Irishman. I think having the scope of who he is definitely helped me grind my gears through this. I was like, I definitely want to see Casino, and I definitely want to see Goodfellas. Like, I'm not writing them off because I know he's great.
You will love both of those.
If I didn't have context, I don't know if I would want to keep going. Especially, I don't even think I would have been allowed to go to the theater with you guys when this movie came out.
Oh my God!
Would have been a little scary.
What's the Sidney Poitier? What's the Sidney Poitier movie? No, the other one. The Guess Who's Coming to the Movies with Us?
Oh my God.
Is that what it's called?
No, the movie is called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and it's about a white woman bringing home her black boyfriend.
Bernie Mac and Ashton Kutcher? That's a remake.
Yeah, which I have seen several times, and I think it's hilarious. I think you told me it was a remake in high school once, dude.
So you have seen a version of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Yeah, but it was Bernie Mac. And
it was Bernie Mac.
He brought home a white daughter.
It's reversed, isn't it?
Yes, Bernie Mac's black. His black daughter brings a white son, a white boy.
Of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Oh,
what a way to update.
I'm pretty sure it's the.
Ashton Kutcher's the white boyfriend being brought into a black house.
Is it a white son bringing a black girlfriend?
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is the black boyfriend and the white girlfriend.
Okay, so they just switched the races.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
nice.
They did the classic flip flop.
Does it end
so
up?
It's comparable.
Does it end up well? Are they like all accepting, or do they fucking kick him out and lynch him?
I have never seen it.
What
Maybe
year was
we'll
it
do
made?
it on the Chronic
67.
Canon. Maybe we'll do Guess Who's Coming to Dinner paired with the Bernie Mac Ashton Kutcher vehicle.
First of all,
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner came out the same year as Who's Knocking at My Door.
What a cool
Now we have to watch it.
Beautiful.
For the record, I do think that this year is the year of the Kutch. So
I'm not.
Why are you saying this?
I feel it on my bones.
What is he doing? Is something
No. I'm not letting this
First
happen.
of all, he's doing something every day. He's saving.
I mean, he's doing good shit, but that has nothing to do with his movie career or his television career.
From sex trafficking.
That's very true. Very admirable.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he made the butterfly flag. He wrote it and directed it.
No, he didn't.
Can I just say real quick, which leads me into...
Why do you get so mad that I watched it?
Pause real fast, because that's going to lead us into our last thing. Who's that knocking at my door? How do we all feel? Overall?
Let's be blunt. Let's be blunt.
We're being the movie.
Yeah.
I'll be blunt. We are dragging it out. We're beating a dead horse. It's
You're right.
terrible.
I'm just concluding before we move on.
I'm trying to say we're just as bad as the movie.
You're right.
Let's be blunt. Once has to. I don't know. Don't give it anything, man.
No. Does it belong in the Chronic Canon?
Absolutely.
No.
Fuck no.
What does that mean? Find out as we figure it out.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
So lastly, if you're still fucking here, which I mean, like,
sorry.
No, we're sorry. It's definitely been over an hour.
Yeah, how long is this? You got to keep track of
I don't
that.
want to know.
It doesn't really matter. We can make it as long as we want.
It.
If people want to listen, they can. If they don't have to. They
we'll
likely
be better
won't, but it's fine.
next time.
Anyway, yeah, we'll get better as this goes on. If you stick with us, those of y'all who are day ones,
OGs,
you'll get some swag later on.
Oh no.
I shouldn't have said that.
Chronic Canon
Some Chronic Canon swag.
T-shirts with Sharpie on them.
Or just like a nug.
We'll send you weed in the mail. No,
No, we won't.
In the federal mail, we'll send you marijuana. Good luck.
So that's the last thing we're gonna do.
So, the last thing we just want to talk about real quick, because, like, you know, as much as we love talking these Scorsese movies, sometimes we watch some stuff that we want to talk about at least a little bit every once in a while, like between the Scorsese movies. Mm-hmm. So, I have a question for you guys. You guys watched anything, like, cool or, like, particularly of note recently?
Nope, never once seen a movie.
All right. Well, this has been the Chronic Canon.
Talk about yours first. I'm excited.
Separation. Go see it.
By
Asghar
Farhadi. Yeah.
Farhadi?
Asghar Farhadi.
I don't know.
Farhadi.
For Hurdy.
But
I'm so sorry.
I had never
Oh
seen.
my
I had
God.
never. Yeah, let's move past.
This is awful.
I never saw it last decade. Everybody says it's the best. I said, yeah, right, prove it. So I watched it at the beginning of this year, and it
Was that the first movie of the year for
Yeah.
you? Nice.
Nita started the new decade with the best of the last decade. I don't know.
The best of the last decade?
No, not in my opinion, but in a lot of people's opinion.
That is true.
It's close. Top 10, probably.
I will
11?
say, when I
It's
saw that
good.
movie, when did it come out? 2011?
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that when it came out. I don't know if that was in 2012 or 2011.
It was 2011 in the U.S.
I definitely know that now I'd have a much better understanding of what's going on in that movie, because I honestly would imagine that now I had no understanding of what was actually going on. However, I do remember far more about that movie than I would remember of movies like Who's That Knocking at My Door, which I saw last week. And it's
That
been
was
nearly
only a week ago?
I know. It's been nearly 10 years since I saw A Separation. But I do remember at the time being like, whoa, that was something else.
Just
and
like-
specifically thinking of you, being
Yeah.
like, oh, you'll like this.
You mentioned. I ignored. I think. Not intentionally. I don't know.
It happens.
Never got around to it. Always wanted to. It's something I would literally recommend to anybody, actually.
I
You
can't
have
wait to
get
revisit.
over
I've only seen it the one time.
the subtitle barrier if you have one, because it's...
As
I-
Bong Joon-ho said, it opens up a whole new world.
Just one
Fucking
inch.
just learn how to read. That's it.
We all read. We all need to read more
Americans are
and see
stupid.
more.
They just they're like reading more than a label. This hurts.
Yeah, I know.
It's worth it. I wouldn't want to spoil anything. It's about an Iranian couple getting a divorce and everything going wrong from there.
Yep,
Very good.
very good.
Literally, I'd tell my grandma to watch it if it would be possible for her to read subtitles.
Anything else?
No,
on
let's
your
just keep
doc?
it to one. Let's just keep it to one.
The best thing you've watched recently?
It doesn't have to be
Anything.
the fucking
Yeah, all right.
best.
What about you, man?
Just
Anything you want to talk about?
we don't want to overcomplicate. We gotta do this weekly.
Yesterday,
Oh,
I
God.
happened to sit down
It's good.
and
It's good.
I watched The Butterfly Effect,
good.
starring Ashton Kutcher.
Look, I haven't seen the whole
Because-
thing.
Because of some offhanded comment at work, I don't know who said it. It was either me or one of my bosses, and just started
Frank and
talking
Brandon work together. That is something that is of note.
on occasion.
Yes.
Sometimes. And I just started hearing about The Butterfly Effect, and I was like, you know what? I forgot about that movie. I didn't know much. And then Frank mentioned the alternate ending, and I was like, excuse me? And then my boss mentioned a scene where he claims to be Jesus and gets holes in his hands.
So
and
that
I was
does
like,
happen.
it's not quite like that. He doesn't
Okay.
claim to be Jesus.
I didn't
He just
think
says
so.
that Jesus talks to him in his dreams, and he uses it.
So
to
he
convince-
metaphorically.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
So
Yes.
We've seen that one before.
I had like
Didn't
gotten
Marty do it?
I gotten ideas
Multiple times.
of what the movie was over the years because it came out in fucking 2004. So I had
Wait,
gotten
really? Was
yeah,
that
it's old?
more recent than I thought, actually? I thought it was like 2001, 2002.
2004. And
Good to know.
I thought, my perception of it was that it was going to be like really, really bad, like super cheesy, very terrible, and that like I don't know what I thought the like time travel was. Like my boss kind of explained it, but it did not do it justice, dude. This movie took me through loops, and it did fall short in a couple of areas, which
The
stopped it
ending's
from being.
terrible.
The ending fucking sucks. I
Sucks.
almost kind of would have preferred the one that you said.
It's
Just-
better.
just because it's crazy. It's
I
like,
don't
alright.
know what happens.
I
at the
think
end
it
of
should have.
Butterfly.
I think it should have ended.
You can
at-
spoil it for me if you want. I don't care.
Are you gonna watch the Butterfly? Will you
No.
watch the
Do you
Butterfly
think-
Effect
I
episode?
watch good movies.
It's good. Hey, it is
Dude,
good.
I think-
you know what?
listen.
3.5.
Like
Okay.
3.5. 3.5.
All right.
3.5.
All right.
I mean, the Kutch is bad.
No,
Which is
okay,
why
no, no, no.
I'm resistant
the
to Year of
the
the
Kutch
Kutch.
isn't consistent, but when he sometimes he's on and he does really well.
Okay.
It's just like he didn't know what the fuck to do, and I think that also was a hard role to play.
Yeah, all right.
You have to play
Fine.
yourself, but different versions of yourself while trying to be the same version throughout the whole time. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird.
True.
But
And there's some fucked up.
the ensemble, dude, some fucked up shit happens. The ensemble cast growing me heavily because every one of them has
Is it good? Is it, like,
every
actually
one of them
really
has throughout these vignettes. Every one of them has ones where like I'm like, you did shit. You were a terrible actress or an actor, and I don't like this. And then they'll have another version of themselves, and I'm like, you were fucking pulling this off. What the fuck? And like I don't know. It's like so many different things inside this one movie.
Yeah.
And how they tried to connect it all, and how I saw what they were going for. I appreciate the effort, and it was definitely way better than I thought it was gonna be.
Well, I'm glad for you.
I think it's really good.
The butterfly effect.
I'm glad for the cooch.
I'd recommend it 30 times before ever watching Who's That Knocking on My Door once.
Oh yeah.
I'm not joking.
Let's clarify that. You know what else I'd rather watch before Who's That Knocking at My Door?
What do you got, Jesse?
What you got?
Oh, I broke out the big guns a couple days ago for Brandon specifically. So this is sort of a dual pick, but an old favorite of mine from years past called Zodiac, which is
I'd like to report a double murder. I shot one girl and one boy. Goodbye.
It's pretty good. Not quite. This paraphrase.
Not quite. I didn't get it all.
Oh,
but
beautiful.
I think initial that start. I got a reaction out of you guys. That
With
was
a
good.
9mm Luger.
Goodbye.
I also killed those kids last year.
Oh, dude, let's talk about it now.
Okay, so Zodiac is the movie that made me want to make movies officially. That movie really did propel me to go, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is it, baby. This is the jazz. And I saw it probably.
It's the jazz.
It was when I was about to start 7th grade. So
That blows my goddamn mind.
so that would have been 2000.
Which one of you guys
Would have
saw
been
7 in
2007.
middle school?
I saw it the year it was released.
Me too.
Well, that's.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but there is a scene in The Butterfly Effect where they're at the movies and they are watching 7 in theaters.
Not only are you
Oh, yeah.
interrupting the
I'm
talk
sorry.
about Zodiac,
7.
you wrote more words about Butterfly
I'm
Effect.
just saying 7.
7.
Yeah.
It's
7
in the
is great.
zeitgeist.
Fincher
It's-
connection.
it's
I
in
do
the
want you to
zeitgeist.
see 7 as well.
All the
Great
Finchers.
movie. All the Finchers. But Zodiac is
Waka
easily
waka.
my favorite of Finchers. I don't know if Frank has seen my top 50 list on my Letterboxd account recently, but it bounced up to number 9 of all time. It is quite good. It is hot. It is heat. It is up there.
I mean,
with
it's
the
not
best
heat.
of the best of them.
But it's hot.
It is literally. I stand by the fact that there are arguments to be made that it is a perfect movie. Across the board. There's really nothing I would
Now,
personally.
Frank did. He didn't want to crush my dreams. I kind of forced him, and he.
Yeah, I'm
did,
sure.
He did.
I'm sure he did.
He enlightened me on a couple of
Knew he would.
factoids about the move, about the flick.
What are the
You know,
factoids?
A couple of factoids is that that they're kind of indicative in the movie
Yeah, of Arthur Lee Allen.
of Arthur Lee Allen.
But that's because it's coming from the perspective of characters that believe vehemently to this day, as far as I understand, that Arthur Lee Allen is the Zodiac.
I know.
And
I'm not saying it. I wasn't saying it.
And I think it makes for a more satisfying movie experience, don't you think?
All right. Yes. Relax.
I'm not saying
He
I'm not getting mad.
said-
I'm getting heated.
He said he wasn't excited for 7 because that's not real. Zodiac's real. And I said,
There's
well.
there's arguments to be made that the reality and the fiction, hand in hand, whatever.
I don't think that's a negative against it.
I think if anything, it's the thing that's remarkable about Zodiac is how accurate it is for having to be. Because I think that's the thing about fictional or narrative films in general. If you're going to take a true story, taking it verbatim is almost impossible if you're going to apply the structure of drama to it.
Yeah.
But Zodiac, probably of maybe any movie ever based on a true story, is the most accurate and respectful to the actual events and the people involved, and going as far as to be as precise as possible, literally helicoptering trees to Lake Berryessa to make sure that the location was as accurately representative of 1969 as possible when the murders at Lake Berryessa took place, or murder, I should say. The other survived. That's the thing. The men always lived. Well, at least in the couple. The Blue Rock Springs murder and the Lake Berryessa. I've seen it enough times to remember. Anyway, anything else that would have swayed your thoughts?
I will say about the Zodiac. I know those the moments that you and Nick liked. I will say when I could clearly tell that it was digital and a little CGI, it did take me out a little bit. I didn't like those as much.
Fair enough.
They don't really seem in place with this really crisp, nice, smooth-looking film.
Yes.
And then you go and you make it entirely animated. Usually when it's the backdrop or whatever, I kind of let it slide.
Yeah.
It kind of was able to glide past me. But I was guessing specifically talking about those car scenes.
Yeah.
where they're driving around.
Yeah.
And the cars are completely like digitally.
I
don't want to say animated.
I think I just like it because it is in Fincher's
and I know it's
style.
like the first of its kind in terms like digital was very new at the time that Zodiac came out. If I'm
And it
understanding
looks pretty
correctly.
goddamn good based up to the standard, like to now. Like
Yes.
digital still
But
looks like digital, no matter what you do.
I have this problem. I don't like when there's a lot of and this sounds hypocritical because of the kind of movies I see, but I don't like CGI and shit in movies just because I can always tell.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Interesting.
That does take me out. I know. It's interesting.
Interesting for you.
I know. It's clever. But also know that those points of the movies are the points where I'm like,
And especially movies with CGI that involve Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. You'd think that those would appeal to you far more. Especially ones that are like actually good.
And Jake Gyllenhaal.
And Jake Gyllenhaal. That's right. He added himself. Wow.
Yeah, he did. So you guys are actually standing Marvel Legends.
I ain't standing nothing.
I'm standing Robert Graysmith and
wait
Dave
till
Toschi and Paul Avery
Robert Graysmith
and David Fincher.
All right, that one's
You just wait until Timothy Chalamet enters the MCU. What are you gonna do?
Oh God.
lose my mind.
I mean, hey, Robert Pattinson's already playing Batman. Now we got to see it.
Maybe.
It is what it is.
Maybe. I was certain I was gonna see Joker. I was like, the guac.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I think that just about wraps up everything that we had to say here today. Right,
Anybody?
fellas?
Anybody?
For the most part?
I ain't got shit else to say.
I got nothing else to say either. I suppose as far as business inquiries, I can't say that word.
Inquiries?
Yes. If anyone wants us to sponsor them or something like that, I don't know. Reach out somehow.
I'll take your money.
Through the page. We'll put links to something somewhere.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
This has been the first episode of the Chronic Canon covering Martin Scorsese's Who's That Knocking at My Door, among many other things. And next week's episode will be on another slog, I'm sure.
We'll
Called
find out.
We're about to find out. We're going to go watch it. Boxcar Bertha. The film that John Cassavetes told Scorsese to go basically screw and make a movie that he cared about.
It's probably a close to verbatim quote.
Hey, kid, go screw.
Thank you for listening to the first episode of the Chronic Canon.
Thank you very much
This
for listening to
is
this first episode.
Brandon signing out.
Jesse signing off.
Frank said.
Thank you so much.